Howdy, everyone. It's Thursday. You know what that means. It's Trench Crusade. Well, it's not Trench Crusade, it's Thursday. It's stream time. Hello. Hello. How is everyone doing today? Hopefully everything is working. Everything is working. Because YouTube decided to update the dashboard that they use for streaming, and it's just strictly worse. So that's great. Hello everyone. This is the first time I've done a Thursday stream in a couple of weeks, actually, because of just various things. Well, Ben, thank you for the super chat straight away.
Commence the trench.
Commence.
Hope you're doing well, Paul.
I'm doing very well, thank you. Yeah, so I can't actually see how many viewers I have, which is like one of the things I used to be able to see, like from the screen I usually use, and now I can't. So that's really useful. I go over to analytics, but then I miss out on one of the other things I have. So, oh well. We've got like 10 minutes until the stream properly starts, so that's fine. Maybe it's better. I just don't know. Maybe it's nice not to know. 82. That sounds about right for the start of the stream. Yes. So hello. First time catching you live greetings Poland. Hello. Cool. I don't need a running total. It's but at least some people can see. Yeah, they change. I think they're trying to make it so you can do vertical and horizontal streams at the same time, but that makes no sense because they're very different use cases. Like a vertical live stream with this stream would be useless. And also the view count goes weird. Like they're saying 18 on Twitch, mine says 6. Who knows? Doesn't really matter at the end of the day. Well, what does matter is Trench Crusade. Guys, how do I start a Deathwatch army, and should I? I mean, the second question should go first. Should you, and then how would you? Do you want to? Then yes. What is a representative of the Great Sultanate of the Invincible Iron Wall of the Two Horns that pierce the sky? I welcome you, brother Trench Crusade. That means nothing to me. Ta-da! Anyway, mostly I'll be looking at the rules, because that's the thing that interests me more. I'm not huge on the the setting, but to be clear, I'm not that big into the 40k lore. The 40k lore is kind of cool, and I assume Trench Crusade lore is also kind of cool, but I'm more of a person who's interested in like mechanics. We did this with Horus Heresy, which actually I found quite interesting. Going through the differences, obviously that's a lot closer related to Warhammer. This is very, very different. I also enjoyed recently playing Shatterpoint, which has a very different, obviously it's a very different game. And just, I like talking about games, because it's fun, and it's cool. And if it's interesting, maybe we'll look into it a bit more. But mostly I'm just like, people keep mentioning Trench Crusade, let's talk about Trench Crusade. So when we get to 7 o'clock, when the stream's about to start, we'll go in and have a look. Obviously, if you want to, get involved in the chat, obviously you can chat on the chat. But as things go fast and I miss stuff and I'm looking at stuff, super chats I'll definitely hear because it'll yell at me. Like the stream and subscribe if you haven't already subscribed. But yeah, be interested to see how Trench Crusade looks like. Happy birthday, well, thank you very much. What has lore? I thought it was all war. I mean, it is all war, but war is lore. Or lore is war. War is lore? Yeah. When you do Malifaux, it's on the list. If this, I want to start because I've said it for a while, haven't I? Where I've been like, oh, I want to go through, and like talk about a bunch of games. This is gonna be the first. Well, I guess the second time I did Horus Heresy. If this is fun, if this is interesting, people like this, I'll do this for more streams because I don't want to do this as a video. I feel like having the back and forth is a lot easier, especially for people, both from people who don't play the game and from people who do play the game. I'm interested in hearing both. Because I think when we did Horus Heresy, it was quite interesting hearing people's opinions. So I'm happy to do that again. Thank you for the happy birthday message. Yes, it was I'm old now. There's a couple of other people whose birthdays were like this week, so happy birthday if your birthday is this week. Or is that if it is today? Yeah, I was going through because I was looking at this. I was like, oh god, it's 168 pages of the rules, but then most of it is reference to like the each of the factions. I'll just start using 3-man Assault Centurions because I'm a Blood Angels lag player normally, and God, these things are brutal. And yeah, Assault Centurion, like obviously everyone's talking about the Devastator Centurions, but Assault Centurions are nasty. You just got to get them there. And yeah, with Trench Crusade, if there's something that like takes my, piques my interest, let's say, I might look into it a bit more. The actual world building, because it's obviously based on real life, quote unquote real life. It's an alternate reality. It's not obviously with 40k. It's like far future, very much fantasy. This has got some basis in reality, which it's cool. I like it. I like the idea of it. I've seen some aesthetics I don't like. But I've also seen some I do. So, but I am interested in the rules. And again, one thing that to be... I'll make this clear again when we properly start. But one thing to be very, very clear about is this is not a replacement for 40k. No games are. Something I've learned from playing one-page rules, playing Age of Sigmar, looking at Horus Heresy, playing all these games is... They're all so different. The reason I play 40k a lot is because it's one, the most popular, and obviously most people know it. And I mean, if you look at the map for the London GT, like 40k was basically the entire thing, and then they just had little areas for everything else. It's also the most well supported. It's very easy to find tournaments for it. This is why I play it the most. But I am also interested in other ones, and if there is one that I can play, playing something like Shatterpoint every so often is a lot of fun. Playing Gaslands is a lot of fun. So it'd be interesting to see. And again, it's kind of like just seeing what else is out there, seeing what you could kind of mix and match. Mezbook, I played a bit of Mezbook, which I need to play more of. The one time I played it, I enjoyed it, but it's got some weirdness. But from what I've spoken to with friends, it was because the units we were using are very odd. I was using the Warg Riders, which I don't think are a thing anymore, and that made the game a little bit different. But it also felt like dice were a bit weird. But again, I haven't played it in a long time. You always try a TTS game if it's rule. Yeah, if the rules are interesting, trying something like that would be good. Oh my God! Start. No, it's not 7 o'clock yet. How dare you? Yeah, Quar, another one. The thing is, I don't even need to really try the game. So Wonder L. Thank you for. I don't even really need to play the games. Just looking at the rules is interesting enough. Yeah, I've heard like Quar, Malifaux, Battle, Tech, Infinity. There's a few others. So hopefully this will be interesting for everyone. I've tried Blood Bowl. No, that's another one on the list. Blood Bowl is one of the ones that I think I would like a lot because it's very silly. Blood Bowl does seem fun. Infinity's my main game now, but I was a guardsman for a long time. Mate. Yeah. War Machine, yeah. And that's the thing, like a lot of them, like people like the models, I haven't looked into the rules. So I'm hoping that we can all, gather together and chat about it. Advances for what's your main 40k faction? Raven Guard, basically. Raven Guard's sister. Screaming Ravens. I think how's it going? I've been in the Warhammer 40k community for more than a year. Already building my second army. Nice. I mean, more than a year only on 2 armies. That's quite paced. Tomorrow's video is part of Shane video. You'll see some of the pretty horrifying things. I have not completed a single game of 40k because I cannot find somewhere to play. That's fair. It depends where you are, right? Like, it's very easy to... very easy for me to find games. Like, if you find a community, then you quid Sim. Like, the Winchester community, very, very cool. It's bad that I collect 40k models but don't play 40k. Nope. That is probably describing... I'm going to pull a number out my ass. Half the people who... I reckon there's probably 50% of people who buy the minis but never... Actually, to be fair, I reckon there's not actually a huge amount of people who play the game. Comparatively to how many people actually buy the models. I find 40 pence extremely unusual. It depends where they are. Some places that are quite remote may not have much of a local community. 4K experience so far has been making kill teams? Hell yeah. UK has a lot easier to find games because it's a smaller country with most places you can travel. Yeah, that's the thing. If you're in a... Also in the UK, like, Warhammer is just very, very accessible. And if you are in relatively close to a city, you'll probably find people playing Warhammer. Wild West Exodus. I've not heard of that one. I'll add that to the list. More people don't play but buy models than buy and play, and that makes sense. Youthful Steiger. Thank you for the €10 super chat, which is going to make a noise. There it is. Ow.
QO Paul just finished a model for someone with cool glow-in-the-dark stuff.
Oh yeah.
I am pretty happy with it and I am posting it everywhere XD to get some opportunities. Hope you have a good day.
Thank you for the super chat. Right. It is 7:01, so let's start. I've got to find the right one. Right. So, this one. Ta-da! Trench Crusade. We're going to talk about Trench Crusade. Here is Trench Crusade. We're basically going to go through the rules. We're going to talk about it. We're going to see what's up, see what's cool, what's not cool. See what we like, see what we don't like. And we're going to have a jolly good time. Like the stream. If you want to like. If you want to like it, if you like the stream. Subscribe if you aren't subscribed. Super chats is probably the best way to throw your opinion in. I will try and read chat, of course, but chat can sometimes move quickly, and also I'm reading stuff, so yeah. My time zone is the only one that matters. I mean, technically, the UK is the one that matters. GMT. We invented time. Time didn't exist before Greenwich. My country didn't have a virtual DW store, could find someone to play. Yeah, that's the thing, right? Some place like the UK, every city has a DW store. I mean, opinions, not opportunities. Opportunities was very funny. It's like I'm posting it everywhere to get opportunities. Christian devs made fun of Christians and their faith. Did they? I don't know. I'm not gonna get involved in that. I mean, isn't the whole thing about holy wars anyway? Let's not get into that because I'm here for the rules. I don't really care. I'll be honest. We won't even. That's a whole separate thing. I don't care. So let's talk about the rules. Trench Crusade playtest rules. Factory Fortress. So this was a Kickstarter, right? Follow the church, servant the inferno. Blah, blah, blah. Draft covers basic rules, most common weapons, armor, and equipment. Scenarios, keywords used in the game, as well as several warband lists. Not just blasphemous heretic legion. The crazed trench pilgrims. We suggest you start with quick start section. That makes sense. These are not the final rules. They are missing explanatory diagrams and gameplay examples. Campaigns, where they should allow you to play sample the game. I wait for the release. Neither layout nor art presence in the final quality. Jesus, the uncycle. Please bear in mind to acquaint yourself with the rules yet. So don't be like, that's terrible. That's fine. Playtest rules. Trench Crusade is a skirmish-scale tabletop miniature that will plunge players deep into the horrifying alternate timeline. During the Crusades, a heretical band of Templars dared to defy the Almighty, casting aside their sacred vows. They unleashed the forces of hell upon the earth. Oh no, not hell. Hell bad. As far as I know. 800 years later, the year of our Lord, 1914, which started World War I. Brutal merciless war between the forces of heaven and hell rages on. Merely not 5 servants, scattered struggles to defend very faith around himself. I do find it interesting. Obviously, it's based on World War I. This is something I think I was discussing with Steve. Maybe I said it on stream before. Obviously, it's based on World War I, but surely World War I would be very, very different. I assume in the lore, I'm sure there is probably some explanation, but I feel like World War I would be very, like the whole leading up to World War I would be very different. They actually unleashed Hull. Oh no. What do you play? Minis. Makes sense. Each player commands a warband, which typically consists of 6 to 20 mini models. So it's like kill team size. Okay. While there is no ironclad rule of scale of models, the heroic 32mm scale is what we use. Burn the scale. Do not worry, witch burners will not be dispatched to cleanse you of lack of scale purity. Good. That implies that witch burners may be dispatched for other things, so we'll watch out for that. We need a gaming surface to play on. We suggest 2 surfaces for games, either 48 inch by 48 inch, that's 4 foot or 3 foot. It allows games to be played on typical kitchen table. Terrain is also necessary. The more you have it, the better. Trench Crusade is a game of position and tactics, so different types of elevation, cover, varied terrain pieces will enhance your gaming experience. Alright. Measuring tools, you'll need a tape measure or measuring stick. Trench Crusade uses Imperial measurement system, which means movement is measured in inches. Very classic. Dice, you will require dice. Each player should have 8 6-sided dice with their own distinct colors. Cool. Finally, you will need a few red 6-sided dice to represent blood markers. Okay. Many weapons, troop type, equipment, and armor have keywords. Always depicted clearly in capital letters. For example, all large and cumbersome weapons have the keyword heavy. It allows players to separate lore and general description. Thus, if the rule dictates that no model carrying a heavy weapon can add these to a charge move, this applies to every single weapon with said keyword. Cool. Makes sense. Well, if you wanted 9 6-sided die, then the witch burners will be dispatched to cleanse you for your lack of dice having. Or extra having. Right. Players activate their models in alternating order. So it's alternate. So it's like Kill Team or Shatter Point. Any of those kind of skirmish games, it's alternating action. Single turn consists of both players activating all of their models once. For example, the first player will choose a model to activate, take any actions available to the model, and then it's time for the next player to activate one of their models. You then choose any model in your warband that has not been activated and activate that model. The model can now move, take actions, use special skills and equipment. When your model's activation is over, your opponent can then activate one of theirs. The player with the lowest number of models currently remaining on the table will decide who will start with the first activation at the beginning of each turn. Both players have the same number of models, roll a d6. When each player has activated all the models, turn is over. Once activated, a model can take as many or as few actions during each activation as you wish, in any order you choose. However, each action can only be taken once per activation, as otherwise stated. Makes sense. Thus, you can fire your weapon, then move, and then dash during the same activation, or dash and then charge, blah blah blah. Common actions that all models can take are listed below. Be sure to consult the profile of each warrior in your warband to see what actions their ability allows them to perform in addition to these. Several actions require you to roll on the action success chart. See below. That's you to the side, but it's playtest materials. To see if you succeed. If you succeed, I might also because I'm zoomed in. If you succeed, you can take the action as described in the rules. If you fail, you can still move, take any other action the model may have. If the action is classed as a risky action and you fail, the activation of the model is over, and your opponent can now activate it. Interesting. So there's like some actions which are fancy. The model, when a model takes this action, move. Sorry. When a model takes this action during its activation, choose one of the 3 options below. Move action does not require a roll on the flex chart. Makes sense. Standard move can move up to its move characteristic. Charge, choose any model within 12 inches. Charging model then moves directly towards that via the shortest, most effective route possible determined by distance. With a d6-inch bonus to the movement characteristic. This movement can allow the charging model to move within 1 inch of the target, putting the 2 models into melee combat with each other. So engagement range of 1 inch. There is 40k. I'm saying that to kind of help people like myself who are only really play 40k get an idea of the. I was supposed to Trench Crusade with a buddy last night and had a lot of fun. Hell yeah. Phil said I had a demo game last weekend. It's super fun. Nice. Okay. Cool. A model can charge. Model cannot charge if they have taken the make a ranged attack action during this activation, unless they have the assault keyword. Okay, so the assault keyword is slightly different, but assault keyword makes sense. That's cool. Retreats, the model can move up to its movement characteristic and may leave melee combat. That's fall back, yep. Each enemy model in melee combat with the retreat model may immediately make a melee action, so there's attack of opportunity. Okay, so that's quite scary. So there's no disengage. Just getting away provokes attack of opportunity. That's quite scary. Model must succeed a risky action. If succeeded, it takes a standard move action. This model must take a risky action. If successful, the model takes the standard move action as described above. This can be done in addition to any other action. Right, I guess that means you can do... Each action can only be performed once per activation. Okay. So I guess you'd probably want to do this at the end just in case you fail it. Make a ranged attack. The model may shoot with a ranged weapon that it is equipped with. Makes sense. Model engaged in melee can't shoot. Model cannot make a ranged attack during an activation which they have charged unless they make a single ranged attack as the keyword. Give a super chat.
Dash is a risky second movement, like a sprint.
That makes sense, yeah. That does make sense. Yeah, I was trying to... I guess it's one of those ones where... Yeah, again, because I haven't got it in my head, I don't know when you'd use it. I guess you'd want to use it. There are times you would use it, but because I'm in my head equating this to advance rather than what it should be, which is a very different thing to advance. So, yeah, makes sense that they can't. Although this one here, a model can't make a ranged attack during an activation which they have charged, but you can't. I'm wondering if there is times where you could charge... Oh, I see, because you could charge, right? Make a melee attack, kill something, maybe, and then you won't be able to shoot. That makes sense. As model engaged in melee combat, in melee attack, detailed with the melee's weapon, attacker must be able to see at least part of the target. No melee attacks through walls. Nice. Interesting, it doesn't clear that up there, but again, this is the simplified rule, so it's fine. Yeah, dashing after shooting, that makes sense. Any other action model, many models have other possible actions to do during their activation, referred to the warband list. Okay. But a risky action, you end. So, we take an action, including melee and ranged, 2d6 and add any plus dice or minus dice from the character profiles. Injuries or other sources. Pick the two highest. Oh, right, I see. So you have essentially... Normally it's 2d6, but maybe there's again, I haven't seen the character profiles. Maybe there's one that says, like, add 2 dice when you do a shooting. So you roll 4 dice, you pick the highest 2. You're looking for higher than... You're basically looking for 7 and above. Ranged and melee attacks add +1 dice to injury rolls. Okay, well, that. Unless the rules specify you, otherwise you're allowed to measure distance to see if you are in range for shooting and charging and so on. Makes sense. During any movement made by a model, it can climb surfaces, jump across gaps, and down ledges to navigate the battlefield. Climbing up and down surfaces or jumping across battlefields costs movement as normal. Jumping down doesn't cost movement, but might be dangerous based on the height of the jump. See page 7. Get onto verticality. The rules are confusing makers as you read. There are FAQs that exist as well as brief. I figured like some of this is probably just because it's kind of the basics. I'm sure it will get, like with 40k, it will get more in depth. Go through. Yeah, very, very, very similar to other games. I quite like this system, although I guess we'll see how it works. Rules often have modifiers to dice rolls, modus plus dice and minus dice. For example, shooting from elevated position adds +1 dice to ranged attacks. Okay. These are shown in the format +1 dice, -1 dice. Many models have them on their profile for melee and range attack, and things like range, cover, and so on. Apply them to dice rolls you make on the action, success charge, or injury charge. For each plus dice, add 1 dice to the pool. For the 2d6 roll you're about to make, thus +1 dice, you make the roll 3d6, then roll all of the dice, pick the highest 2. 2 dice, yeah. And it works the same the other way. For each -1 dice. Oh, actually, okay, this is... If each -1 dice, add an extra dice, and then pick the lowest. Okay. So if -2 dice, yeah. Trench Pilgrim model is shooting a heretic trooper with a musket. Heretic is in cover, which grants -1 dice to any range attacks. The Pilgrim rolls 3d6 against a 5, 5, and a 1. Two lowest numbers are picked on result to 6. Has a probability of 7 to hit, sharpness. 4 rolling dice, add any plus and minus dice to the dice pool. If the dice pool contains both plus and minus dice, remove pairs of opposite dice. So, I guess, D&D advantage, disadvantage. Very much makes sense. We're looking at another thing to be bad at, potentially. So far, fairly simple. Other rules so far? So far, fine. So far, fine. Blood markers. During a battle, your warriors can be wounded. That makes a lot of sense. These supernatural powers. Falling from great heights, so on. See the injury chart for details. The damage is tracked via blood markers. In addition to wounds, they represent exhaustion, concussion, shell shock, physical and mental strain. Each time one of your models suffers such damage, place a blood marker next to the model to track this damage. Use the pip numbers on each dice to indicate the number of blood markers the model had. Each time this model takes an action, shooting, melee attack, and so on, your opponent can declare that they are spending one or more blood markers. Add -1 dice to the dice pool when rolling on the axe. Test chart. Multiple markers may be applied to any single roll if the target has multiple blood markers. Okay. That's... Okay, I kind of get it. So you're hurting someone, but you're not kind of killing them. You're basically making them worse to the point where they can die. That I guess takes away a blood marker. Blood markers could also be used by your opponent when model suffers damage from any source. Each marker could be reverted into +1 dice on the injury chart, making a serious injury far more likely, and just like with actions, multiple markers can be used in a single roll. Okay. Then your opponent's injuries to make them worse at an important roll. Makes sense. It's not the same, but we played the Alien tabletop RPG, where you get stress, and the amount of stress you get adds dice to a pool when you're doing your actions. So you get more likely to complete the actions, but you also can, those stress dice can also roll badly, and then you get even more stress. It's kind of like a cycle. So I kind of like the idea of having that. It's interesting. Okay, Bloodbath. You can roll an additional d6 on injury rolls at the cost of 6 blood markers on any model, or at the cost of 3 blood markers if the target is down. This means that instead of rolling 2d6 with your typical weapon, you roll 3d6 on your injury roll and add the numbers together. Weapons such as artillery, which is infernal bombs, therefore roll 4d6 and add the results together. Okay. I'm starting to lose the plot, but we'll find the thread. It's fine. The Trench Pilgrim model has sustained a wound during the battle and has 2 blood markers. A heretic trooper shoots at the pilgrim with a trusty bolt-action rifle, rolls an 8, and hits. The heretic player decides to use one of the blood markers to make the shot more likely to injure. The heretic player rolls 3d6. On the consult injuries chart, the result is 4, 5, and 1. Since +1 dice was used, the player picks the 2 highest. Pilgrim is taken out of action. Okay, so that's so you kill people through the injury chart. His markers are spent by the player on their own turn in attacks. Okay, right, so there's like a... Blessings are rare, but down to good. Okay, so there's like an opposite version as well. Cool. Oh look, blessing markers. Blessing markers are similar to blood markers, supernatural powers, holy relics, and many other sources may grant these to models, which can be spent to aid actions. Every time a model takes an action, you can declare that you're spending one of your blessings to add +1. Whenever an opponent makes an injury roll, you can -1 it. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So, basically the opposite of blood markers. The situation may occur where different rules and abilities conflict with each other, creating a rules impasse. A rule might require a model to do something, whilst another rule says they cannot do this. In these situations, the prohibition takes precedence. Or takes precedence. Prohibition takes precedence. That's a sentence and a half. If a model cannot do something, this overrides any rule that says it must do another action. So if two things say you must do something, and something that says you cannot do something, they cannot always win. In all cases where the rules refer to fractions, always round up to the nearest whole number. Makes sense. For example, if your warband has 9 models and the rule calls for something to affect half the entire force, 4.5 rounds up to 5. On the other hand, if a model with a move 9 has its halved, it's 4.5, that needs to round the whole number. Okay. Yeah, when... I feel like that's not too bad. I feel like that could be simplified. Just for the... Just always have it so half... I know obviously you can measure half an inch. But if you've got one of those... I guess most, like, measuring sticks also have, like, notches on them. I think just have it... Anything that is hard always rounds up. Or, I guess actually if you had like 4.1, that would round up at that point. Just have standard rounding. Like, maths is something we've kind of already sorted out, right? When you round something, if it's half and above, it goes up. If it's not, it goes down. Going over the top. And I think, yeah, sorry, to finish this thought, if it halves movement to 9, if you're halving a 9 movement, it goes 4.5, just make everything round up. Just make everything round, just keep everything as whole numbers. Not a major thing. I'm sure it's fairly easy to understand, but it's just like, something that might make it a little bit easier. Going over the top, all trenches are considered to have fire, steps, and footholds. Therefore, climbing out of them requires no risky action, so you can always go out of a trench. Whether you'd want to is a different matter. Low markers place HP. No HP or wounds. Right, all models in the game can move when activated unless otherwise indicated in the rules. Each model can move up to the number of inches indicated in the profile, though they can move less and not all if you wish. There are a number of general rules that apply to all movements that model can take towards activation. Certain types of movements, such as falling, will not back effect from Artillery Witch. The Artillery Witch's Infernal Bomb seems to come up a lot. I wonder what this is. Are not subject to those rules. Regardless of type of movement, a model cannot move off the battlefield unless a rule specifies it can. A model cannot enter melee range unless it charges. That's fine. Can't enter engagement range. Cannot leave melee range unless it is retreating. Model in melee cannot otherwise move unless they begin their activation in melee combat. Take the standard move action and remain in melee combat with every model that they were in combat with at the start. Model in melee combat cannot otherwise move unless they begin their activation in melee combat. Take a standard move action and okay. I feel like I understand the wording. I feel like that could be better word. I guess it makes sense. It makes sense. It's just it's a bit long-winded, right? A model can move through friendly models if it has enough movement to move past them completely, or entirely. The model cannot move off the battlefield. Movement, including charging, is usually the only action a model can take that does not require you to roll 2d6 to determine whether you're successful, as otherwise noted. So, charging. That's an enemy model that was in 12 inches. Charging model does not have line of sight to its target. It must succeed a risky action before proceeding. That's interesting. So you can charge through a wall, but it's a bit more of a risk. Roll d6 to charge roll and add it to the charging model's movement. The maximum distance 12. Charging model must move this distance towards the target by the shortest and most effective route possible by distance. Jumping, climbing, or moving through dangerous terrain is always optional during a charge, even if it is the shortest route. The new route avoiding such crosswind must still be as short as possible. If, after completing this movement, the charging model is within 1 inch, the charging model is considered to have made a successful charge. It is now in melee combat. If the charging model does not reach its target, the charge is considered to have failed, but it remains where it is after the movement. That is cool. I guess the idea of running around a blind corner and risk getting shot. Yeah, that makes sense. I like the fact that if you charge and fail, you still move. That's cool. Because you could go for a risky, like... I need to make you could charge something 12 inches away with the assumption that you're probably not going to make it, and then just go a little bit further. Was interpreted you don't know exactly where the unit you're charging is. Yeah, that's the other way to do it, right? Charging multiple enemies. A model may target to multiple enemies with a single charge if there is space that charging model will occupy. With every so multi-charge, and same as 40k basically. And this is the same as 40k, not the same as Age of Sigmar. Age of Sigmar, you roll to see how far you charge, and then you decide which target you go for, I believe. This is same as 40k. You select a target, and then you try and charge it. Interposing models during a charge. If a charging model would pass within 1 inch of an enemy model that is not the target of its charge immediately ends and is considered to have charged the interposing model instead. What you said about AOS charges is correct. Hell yeah, I'm smart. That's an interesting one. Does that... Jumping, climbing, or moving through dangerous terrain is always optional. So... with this one, if it's the shortest route, can you not try and avoid it? Do you have to go through? I assume based on this, yes. Though I'm not sure when this was come up. I assume you'd already move first and then... although, no, you can't move and... yes, because you can't move and charge, right? You have to charge, so you might be screwed having to try and set that up, right? This is an interesting one. I think this will make more sense as we go through it. I'd like to see this one in action. When it comes to making sure the models in your game match their status size, equipment, we recommend the following maxim: be strict with yourself, but lenient with others. I mean, that's a good maxim in general. Diving charge. If a charging model jumps down as part of a charge, it landed within 2 inches of its target, and it jumped from a ledge that was at least 3 inches measured from the target space and not more than 6, it may convert its charge into a diving charge. Place the charging model in any space within 1 inch of the target and take a risky action. If successful, the charging model gains +1 bonus to hit and to injure, and the charging model ignores the target's defended obstacle bonus if it has one. The remainder of its action. If the model fails, the model is down and injured as per the rules falling. Right. This is why I like looking through rules of games. This is cool as fuck, right? That's so funny. This is the kind of thing that I would just do, even if it's a terrible idea. And this, I mean, to be fair, 40k has this. Not so much like the specific rules, but, you know, you can make silly plays that just sound cool. But I like rules like this. Like, literally, like, elbow dropping someone. That's cool. That's very cool. I feel like I would basically... I would make an army that was basically just designed around jumping on people. That's funny. I like that. When the cooldown play has actual rules about it. That's the thing, right? Like, I've had it before where, you know, you're playing Warhammer and you're playing 40k, and you kind of you even in tournaments you like narrate this kind of stuff. Like there was the one I spoke about when for the Winchester GT where I went 3-2, where I you know, it was like a JPI and a heavy intercessor trying to fight like up a building, like throwing a weapon at each other. Like, there's no rules for that, but it was just how it was described. A model can move up and down ladders, ropes, ramps, stairs, and other devices meant for climbing above any movement it takes. Cross movement is normal. As a risky action, a model may attempt to climb up and down sheer surfaces such as walls, but it must have enough remaining movement to clear the entire height. If it fails, you stay where you are. Okay, so anytime that you see stairs, ladders, ropes, stuff, you could just climb. That's fine. The risky action, you can jump across a gap of up to half their movement characteristic, measured horizontally. Plus, the movement is normal and can be taken as any kind of movement that the model has. A model cannot attempt to jump a gap that it does not have enough movement to clear. If this risky action fails, the model falls. If it fell from a ledge on either side of the gap of the opponent's choice. Okay. So the opponent could choose to land you closer to the side you were going for if it is better for them. I like that. Jumping between ledges of unequal height if the ledge that the model jumps to is lower. Apply the rules for jumping down after the model jumps the gap. The ledge is higher. It can only be up to 1 inch higher. And if the ledge is at least half an inch higher, it costs an extra inch. A model can voluntarily fall from a ledge that it is base contact with. This never costs movement and can be done as part of any movement the model has. Additionally, when falling from heights of up to 3 inches this way, does not make an injury roll. Okay, so you can go down 3 inches. So apply the rules for jumping down after it's jumped the gap. So you jump the gap, and then you basically go down, and it costs no extra movement to go that down part. Okay. When a model falls, it is moved from its current position to the first space that it can occupy directly beneath it or the ledge that it fell from. Fell from a height greater than 2 inches, it must roll on the injury chart. For every 3 inches fallen, add +1 dice to the injury roll. For example, a fall of 3 inches would be rolled with +1 dice. A fall of 6 would be 2 + 2 dice. Okay, right, okay. Makes sense. However, when you're doing a jumping down, it's only 3. Obviously, if you fell, for example, from a ledge, it can be up to 2. That makes sense. A model can fall through its own action, such as when it fails risky action jumping over gaps, or when jumping down a great distance. 3. A model in an elevated position may also fall when it is downed while within 1 inch of a ledge. When this happens, the model takes an action. If it succeeds, the model remains down where it is. If it fails, the model falls from the nearest ledge. Wait, what? Fair enough. The model in an elevated position may also fall when it is downed while within 1 inch of action. When this happens, the model takes an action. If it succeeds, the model remains downed where it is. Oh, right, okay. So if you're downed within 1 inch of a ledge, you do an action. If you succeed, you stay on that ledge. If you fail, you fall off the ledge. That makes sense. I understand. Terrain. There are 4 types of terrain. We love terrain. Are they all airship ruins? Which faction called to you most of that? I don't know the factions yet. I haven't got that far, so no idea. Open terrain is the most common terrain. Models can move freely through open terrain. This includes crossing obstacles of up to 1 inch high. Okay, movement, ladders, ramps, open terrain. Difficult terrain includes rocks, swamps, barbed wire, cost double movement. That's very standard. D&D, basically. Dangerous. This includes barbed wire, minefields, raging fires, and other covered in poison and gas, so on. When a model moves into or starts its activation in dangerous terrain, it must take an action on failure, make an injury roll. Model moved into the dangerous terrain. If the model moved into the dangerous terrain, this action is risky. Right, okay. That makes sense. So basically, if a dangerous terrain starts on top of you, let's say someone throws like a gas grenade at you, it's not a risky action. If you decide to move into the dangerous terrain, then it's a risky action. Models cannot pass through impassable terrain. Terrain can be both difficult and dangerous. So yeah, you can be both slowed and dying. There exists 2 movement types currently in Trench Crusade: infantry and flying. Potentially there could be more. A model can have 1 type of movement. Gains movement of another type, it must choose which movement it keeps. Infantry, the movement type, covers every model that walks, crawls, or gallops. They obey all of the typical rules. This model type covers every model that flies with wings, floats with magic, or otherwise hovers above the ground. Flying models treat difficult and or dangerous terrain as open terrain. They do not trigger mines or similar devices. Flying models can climb up and down, and they can jump over gaps of their movement without taking an action. Okay, so they can just fly. This one is interesting, yeah, because they can just fly above anything, right? Right, combat time. Well, I have 6 extra boxes of Scorpic Destroyers. Why have you got so many? You want them? You could probably sell them for better. I have a PO box, but I don't need all 6 of them. I can take that for free. Jesus. Combat is divided into ranged and melee combat. The model may fight in melee or with any ranged weapons. To shoot at an enemy, a model must have a ranged weapon and be able to see the target. If the model has multiple ranged weapons, you can shoot one of them per activation. The only way to check what your model can see is to stoop over the tabletop. So it's done Mesbug, where you actually like line of sight it from the model's perspective. I'm not a fan of that, to be honest. I'd rather... I know obviously it's kind of the more realistic thing, right? But I would rather just be base to base. To be clear, 40k being any part of the model to any part of the model is okay, because you can just laser it. But this is one of the ones where I think the balance between making what is kind of more realistic and simulated versus game really just requires base to base. If I was programming, but it's not the worst in the world. Like, it's not terrible. It's just a preference. Models in melee cannot shoot unless the rules for the weapon specify otherwise. Sometimes indirect fire weapons have a rule that allows you to target models even out of sight. These are clearly explained in the profile for such weapons. Models can see all around themselves, and they may be turned freely to face any direction before firing. When making a ranged attack, follow these steps. Choose one ranged weapon action. Declare a target and check line of sight. Check if the target is in range. Determine and apply plus minus dice. Roll the action success. If you hit, roll the injury. The weapon can shoot multiple times. Resolve the shots one at a time. That makes sense. If you shoot at any model engaged in melee from a position outside of melee, roll a d6 for each shot. Determine which model it hits. On a 1 to 3, the attack targets one of your models at random within 1 inch of the target. On a 4 to 6, the attack targets an enemy at random. Resolve the attack normal once the target is... You're not allowed to shoot if you're engaged in melee yourself. Okay. That one is... I quite like that. That's kind of cool. That's, I think, similar to... because Mesbug, you can try shooting, but if you're firing through something, like one of your own team, you might... you might hit that person. Rules isn't so bad when you realize you're only dealing with 8 to 50 models. Yeah, that's very true. That's very true. But it's still one of those ones where... kind of for... just for ease of use, I feel it's nice to have, like... base to base. Just for kind of... rather than having to go, like, leaning down and try and check by the eye line is a bit annoying. But it's not the... again, like you say, 8 to 50 models is not the worst. I have a question. Why do most wargames have very strange phrasing? In what way? Is it just kind of like the very much... it's very particular. It's very specific, I guess. Modifiers. Add -1 dice to the roll if you're behind cover. Model is in cover whenever it is in contact with a piece of scenery that is at least as long as the model's base. Okay. The attacker can see a model in its entirety. The penalty does not apply. Model cannot gain cover merely from being obscured due to... model cannot gain cover merely from being obscured due to angles, distant scenery, or the surface they are standing on, such as when standing on above a building. Model cannot gain cover merely from being obscured due to angles. What does that mean? Also feels like they pick the most backwards way to explain things. It's just to make sure that things are very much like very specific. Because if you start to be really loose with it, you can start to like. Here's an example, right? Like Like, choose one ranged weapon in action, declare a target, and check line of sight, for example. Like this one here. Is that a good one to figure out? Yeah. Yeah, if this rule was just like, pick a weapon and choose a target. Well, what weapon? You could pick a melee weapon, technically. Like, choose a target, you could choose your own... that kind of thing, right? It just makes sure... it makes it very specific. It's kind of like... it's like, you know, the lawyer. Say every model has a 360 line of sight. What does it say instead? Models can see all around themselves, i.e. 360. Well, here's the thing. Line of sight. That's why. Line of sight is... not everyone will understand what that means. Obviously, being wargamers, and we understand the term line of sight. But this, it just means models can see all around themselves. Is also... it is kind of more of a layman, right? It's kind of like that balance between the layman way of saying it and explaining it without trying to use too much technical language, but also trying to be still technical based on your own rules. It can be a bit weird. It means you don't get cover from having a wall in between you and the enemy. You have to be touching the wall. Oh, right. The model needs to be touching something being covered. If it is in the open but obscured by objects in the foreground, it isn't in cover. That's interesting. Oh, that one's weird, right? Although, yeah, I guess actually no, no, that's fine because I'm thinking like if it's a big wall, obviously it's completely obscured anyway, right? If the target is more than half the weapon's maximum range, add -1 dice to the roll. Okay. Shooting from an elevated position, add +1 dice to hit rolls if the model is taking the shot from a position that is 2 inches above the target ground level, being the floor on which the target's base rests on. The target is on a 50 mil or larger base, the height must be 4 inches. Do they fully release rules? These are still the test rules, as far as I know. Welcome back. Get high enough and range stops mattering. That makes sense, yeah. Injury chart. If your attack hits an enemy, it's time to determine the amount of damage the attack has caused. Roll 2d6 plus or minus and pick 2 highest or lowest. Result the following table. 1 or less, no effect. Minor hit, down, and out of action. On occasion, a rule will ask you to total more or less than 2d6. Determine the outcome. If the roll is modified, modify the dice pool as normal. Highest, lowest number of dice. For example, if the rule asks you to roll 3d6 with +1 dice, you would roll 4 dice and keep the highest 3. Modifiers to injury chart. Rolls. Trench shield is -1. This is -1 number, not dice here. -1 to injury rolls, -1 to injury rolls for standard armor, reinforced armor, machine armor. Not cumulative with tough shield. If a tough model would be taken out of action, it is knocked down instead. After a tough model has been knocked down in this way once, it cannot be taken out. It can be taken out of action as normal. Okay, so a tough model has essentially 2 lives. Target is down. Add +1 dice to the dice pool when determining injuries for a model that is down. So if you down something, and you can then try and hit them. Roll an bloodbath. Roll an additional d6 and add it to the... Your total costs 6 blood markers. 3 if the target is down. Okay, so yeah, that's the way to get a 3d6 roll, is to get someone with 6 blood markers on them. No effect. The target withstands a hit. Minor hit and +1 blood marker next to the model. Whenever the wounded model takes an action, the opponent may decide to use a blood marker. We've heard about that one already. We're on the injury chart. You can also do this to add 1 +1 dice. Warrior down, which actually just called down here. Place 1 blood marker next to the model. Model goes down. If the model already has down, suffers 2 blood markers and remains down. The model that is down suffers -1 penalty to all of its actions. Also, it cannot move during its activation through its own actions. The down condition can either be represented by placing an indicator next to the model or physically turning the model face down. Model turned on its side will represent a different profile of line of sight targeting, but these two methods are indications of otherwise identical and models controlled by many sides. This is why I think, yeah, base might be better, but I guess if you then turn the base on its side, I don't know. Interesting, that one. Start of its own activation, a downed warrior can stand, but any movement it takes is halved. The model is downed during its own activation. It may attempt a risky action to stand, otherwise it remains down. Warrior suffers a major wound and is out of the game for the rest of the battle. Remove the model from the table. Resolve what happens to the model after the battle, explained in the serious injury section of the rules. I guess that's for, like, campaigns. I set my model face down and end my turn. Melee combat. An activated model can use any of its melee actions in contact with them. Select a melee weapon. Declare which target you're... that's basically the same. Last one to the roll. The target of the melee attack is considered to be defending an obstacle if it is not down. Is touching an obstacle. That obstacle is at least half an inch high, and that obstacle is between it and the attacker. Common examples such as stone walls, earthen ramparts. So basically, if you're fighting over a hedge, not over a hedge, over a wall, it's that. And if you're doing it with an offhand weapon, it's also weaker. Each model can only attack once in melee, but some can execute multiple attacks using their natural ability. Model armed with 2 melee weapons can make 2 separate melee attack actions, one for each weapon. One of these weapons before you make your first action roll is the offhand weapon. It has a -1 dice to hit. If a strong model wields 2-handed melee weapons in one hand. Sorry, if a strong model wields a 2-handed melee weapon in one hand and a 1-handed melee weapon in the other, the 1-handed weapon is always the offhand. Resolve attacks made by the model wielding 2 melee weapons one at a time. Cool. Game designed currently around Cruise campaign, so rules are written for them to playtest. That makes sense. There are rules for one-offs in their playtesting tools. That makes sense. If a model is in melee combat at the start of an activation, they may use their standard move action while staying within 1 inch of enemies they are engaged in combat with. Sorry, let me... Yeah. Oh, we've seen this one, yeah. Used to negate the defended obstacle bonus. So basically, as long as you're within 1 inch of someone, you can, like, go around a wall. Get within range. Once you have moved the model and taken all actions you wish, or you have failed with any of your risky actions, the activation model ends. Your opponent does it. Keep activated models as long as either player has inactive models left. Once you and your opponent have activated all your models, go to the morale phase. Will you do any more Dark Elder content? Probably, yeah. Because the new codex is kick-ass, so I would like to get back into my Drukhari. Okay, morale. Your warband may abandon the battle if it suffers too many casualties at the end of any turn. When at least half of your warband is down or out of action, roll on the action success. Hang on a sec. Let me try this one out. Your warband may abandon the battle if it suffers too many casualties. At the end of any turn when at least half of your warband is down or out of action, roll on the action success chart. So that reminds me a little bit of Middle Earth, where I think there's something around like if you have half your stuff left, then something changes. If you fail, your warband flees the battle and loses the battle immediately. If both warbands are required to take this test, the smaller warband test first. The warband that loses a morale test can decide, instead of fleeing, that their warband is shaken. Actions taken by models in the shaken warband are considered risky actions. After 1 turn, the warband recovers to its normal state and is no longer considered shaken. If it fails a morale test again, it flees. Once both players have activated all their models in their force, the turn ends and the new turn begins. Player with the lowest number of models in the force starts new turn and selects the models to activate. I'm guessing there's no way to add or minus to this. But yeah, if you go down to half of your warband remaining, you basically roll 2d6, and if you roll a 2 to a 6, you lose. You get +1 dice if you lose the round. Okay. Yeah, it doesn't say that here. Or it says that later, right? banners. Morale is important because it being a campaign game avoids wipes. That's true, actually, Chronovac. Yes, because it's a morale game. That was one of the things with like Crusade in 40k, right? Where if you're losing, you can risk trying to carry on, but obviously you're risking. Obviously it's quite rare to get battle scars, but yeah, I'm guessing that so it looks like there's banners and your leaders and stuff. There's no way to use like blood markers for it, is what I'm thinking. All right. Cool. So that's all the rules, basically. Interesting. I think we'll have a look at keywords. We'll have a look at the profiles as well to see what else we get. Then we'll have a look at some of the scenarios. So let's look at keywords. Plus dice, minus dice, we know. Action, we know. Artificial. Model is not of natural origin, but instead constructed from non-organic elements. Okay, sure. Be a way to shorten the game and stop dragging on. It's a good idea that the army could survive a fight another day. Yeah, I think that's what. Yeah, that's what. Because it's campaign related, right? You may want to flee to fight later on. But it also feels bad if you're like turning the tide and then suddenly you roll low and then you're done. Again, if there's ways to add dice, it's not. And again, obviously this is test material, right? That's the other thing. What does artificial do? Artificial units are a bit more difficult to wound. Okay, so it's just kind of a. There's no rule on it at the moment. Range attacks made with this weapon do not prevent a model from charging. That's fine. Oh right, so there's lots of different ones. Like Black Grail has a faction. Okay, so artificial Black Grail. Some of these aren't rules. They're just actual keywords. You can be outright winning the match and fail to morale test. Yeah. Blast. A weapon with blast has an area of effect with radius inches indicated by X. Weapon targets a model. This radius is measured from the center of that model's base in all directions. This model targets a point on the ground. This radius is measured from that point. The attack action with this weapon is successful. It hits every model within this radius. The target or line of sight to. Okay, right. So yeah, okay. So you can't hit things out of line of sight with a blast. Oh wait, no, hang on. The target has line of sight. Oh no, you can hit things out of your line of sight with blast. I feel like having this from the center of the base. No, it makes sense actually, because if you've got a bigger base, you don't want it to be like spreading further. Blessing marker we saw, blood marker we saw. Consumable after the item with the keyword has been used can only be used once. That makes sense. Any items with this keyword that were used are lost. Okay, so that's part of the campaign stuff. When attacking with a weapon with this keyword, add +2 dice to any injury rolls the weapon caused if you rolled a critical. Yep. Models always require 2 hands to use this weapon, even if the model has the keyword strong. A weapon with the keyword cumbersome ignores the restriction when benefiting from shield combat. Okay. Starting to get into the weeds here. Elites have different rules for experience and okay, that's that. Enemies of models with this keyword suffer -1 dice in melee combat, so yeah. A model hit by a weapon with this keyword suffers a blood marker in addition to any other effect of the attack. Model suffers this blood marker even if the attack has no other effect or is otherwise negated. Some equipment and abilities negate the additional blood marker. So fire is like just extra ways to cause problems. Modifier fire team made up of 2 models. All models of a part of the fire team can be activated at the same time. They take their actions in any order, switching between the 2 models. Note that if the activation of either member of the fire team forcibly ends due to risky, they both fail. That's similar to in Shatterpoint, where some of your units are 2 models. Gas. Model hit by this weapon suffers a blood marker and any other effects. Okay, so gas and fire are basically the same thing, right? Yeah, so I guess that's just a way. It's just 2 different ways of adding blood markers to attacks. This is exceedingly hard to destroy a golem. It treats out of action injury results as down unless the attack is made using the bloodbath rule. In which case, an out of action result removes the model from play as standard. It does not suffer additional blood markers from gas. Not fed by fear. The controlling player cannot remove blood markers from the golem by any means, though the opponent can use them as standard. The golems are basically just like you have to get it to 6 blood markers before trying to kill it. Grenade weapons ignore penalties for cover and long range. Okay. Not count towards the number of ranged weapons a model can carry and do not have to be held in your hand. Model armed with a grenade can use them as many times as they wish. Heavy. Can't. Yeah, heavies you cannot move or dash and shoot during. Yeah, you can't move and shoot. Heretics can be deployed anywhere on the table out of line of sight for any enemies, but at least 8 inches away from the closest enemy. They are deployed after all other models without this keyword. So infiltrates go last. If any infiltrators cannot be deployed, then those models can always be placed in your deployment zone. Scenario does not allow for infiltrators to deploy models with this keyword as standard. That's an interesting one. Infiltrators go last and you have to get them out of line of sight. That would be an interesting one for 40k. Because a lot of 40k at the moment is you basically use your infiltrators to block off areas. If you forced infiltrators to go last and out of line of sight, that would be interesting. That'd be a way to kind of stop the infiltrate, like the kind of requiring infiltrators. But it might be too far the other way. Infiltrators can go into deployment zones too. Ooh, yeah, that is true. As long as it's 8 inches away. As long as this model is not out of action, add +1 dice to any morale test. Okay, yes. So there's the leader thing. You can only purchase as many of these pieces as indicated by the number in parentheses. Makes sense. Faction, risky action. Model hit with this soft of blood. So shrapnel is another. So gas, fire, and shrapnel are all the same. When a model with this keyword is targeted by an enemy charge, it may immediately move D3 inches in any direction except into melee combat. Skirmisher may also take this move when a charging enemy model would enter melee combat with it during a charge that is not targeting it. So, like, if it is, like, intercepted. After either of these moves is resolved, the charge continues as normal towards the original target. These moves can only be taken if Skirmisher is not in melee combat, and only one such move may take place per charge. Model with this keyword ignores rules or heavy, their factions, and if tough model is taken out, you have to do it twice, basically. So, starting a warband, so I'm not going to go through the actual, like, everything here. Belongs to a faction, most warbands have variant lists. Once you've selected your faction, you have 700 ducats, or ducats. I'm gonna... Something I'm gonna say. The word points is fine. I've seen this before in other places where they try and make a different word for mana or for, strength or something. They're trying to get away from like strength, dex, con, wisdom, int, and charisma, and they name them all different things. It's like you can just... In fact, Caves of Cud does this. Caves of Cud. Which if you haven't been following my gaming channel, Paul is bad at games. Go there. I think there's a link somewhere in the channel. Paul is bad at games. I've been playing Caves of Cud, and they've basically got the 16 D stats, but they renamed them all. It's like you don't have to do that. You can just use them. Like some words are fine. Like I know this is you're trying to make it more flavorful. You're allowed to use them. That's fine. It's because it's money in universe, though, still dumb. Yeah, that's the thing. It's money. It makes sense why they do it, and I get why people do it. It's like when some games will change XP to like, oh, it's your, it's your inspiration. It's like just call it experience. It's experience points. It's HP. It's MP. They should really change. In fact, to balance things out, to not be accused of being a 40k fanboy, they should change the word wounds to health in 40k. Get rid of wounds. It's health. It just makes more sense. Like, Like, and even if you were going to do this, call it gold or money. Points is fine. He hates immersion. I know, I get it, right? That for me, it's the same with the line of sight thing, right? Where you put your balance between immersion and having the rules be like kind of more easy to understand. I mean, it's not hard to understand that the word ducats is points, right? That's not hard, but it's just one of those ones where it's like everyone's just going to translate in their head to points anyway. It's like in shatter points, each round is called, or each like phase is called the shatter point. Like, we're playing for the shatter point. It's like, just call it the round thing. Like, I get it, but also, and horror films refuse to say zombies. Yeah. Ducats are more of a resource in the game. There are scenarios where your troops can be taken captive. You have to pay off the ransom with ducats. You can't really do that with points. I mean, okay, that does make sense. But then I guess yeah, if there is more uses for it outside of the list building, then okay, that makes sense. This will probably, if because someone mentioned they are they're having like, they're making like, obviously this is for now it's based around campaigns and long running campaigns and stuff, so it makes sense. I reckon probably when they do a more one-off game rules for like pickup games or just without the campaign part, they will probably change this to point in that scenario. But it makes sense because you're using these, it's like with Crusade, right? Crusade has your kind of got the RP, and then like, is it requisition points? Basically, you have a resource that you have to spend for out of action stuff. The difference is with this is the points you spend for out of action stuff is the same points you're spending for in action stuff, and so that makes sense to kind of have it in universe. If they go for a version of this which is just one-off games, they will probably change this. Cats are an old form of currency, just a bit of fun not to. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing, right? This fitting, I agree with you. Okay, yeah. Tabletop games are you interested in apart from Warhammer Trench Crusade? Basically all of them. I like looking through rules and just seeing what's there, and so this is why I'm doing this. Like conversations like this about the ducats, right? It's quite cool. We also have glories as another currency for list building for special units, so LGS games do 900D and 8 glories. Okay. I guess you can have that kind of like the enhancement stuff. Interesting. These focus meant to be Crusades are the main focus. Yeah, that I believe. Yeah, so at the moment, I think for these testing ones, it is purely Crusade, but I think it makes sense to have a pickup game version as well, because if you're, one of the things having like being pure Crusade only is, let's say that you have a warband and you want to go play a friend of yours who has just started. You may have to start. You could start new, or let's say you're like, I'm going to take my warband and go play a stranger at a local game thing, and their warband has played a lot more or something. Like, it's nice to have a kind of standardized fresh starts for those kind of games. But again, this is still very base. Would my Trench Crusade figures fit in the Tabletop Stronghold case? I mean, if it's the, same, it seems like it's the same size miniatures as Warhammer, you get 8 to 15. Yes, definitely. People have the gripes with it, but it's so intuitive without bloat, like hit wound saves beyond a pen. This is the thing that, because I was speaking to a friend of mine who plays Mezbug. It's a similar thing where it's like, in Mezbug, you like roll dice and see what happens. Where obviously with 40k, it's you hit, you wound, you save, you feel no pain. They're very, very different systems, and the difference is basically that with this one, you can't, with just like 2d6, the plus and minus dice is very interesting. I think that helps a lot with this system. With 40k, kind of every step of that is reducing the variance. A lot of us have had it where we've gone, oh wow, I've rolled really hot on the hit, and then rolled really badly on the wound and gone, oh, okay, that's come out in the wash. That's like, evened it out, basically. The hit, the wound, the save kind of allows several areas to tell the story. Like, it could be you've rolled really, really hot on hitting, but then your opponent rolls really, really well to defend as well, and that's quite cool. I think there is a I do think that is good. But I do think this is a cool system. The plus and minus dice is cool. Once this set him into a plug makes sense. There's a pug version of the rules. Routing can give you a penalty instead. Yeah. So there was you get the shaken. Each warband building such as a end of a single game start with this instead. Okay, cool. Yeah, 908. I think someone in Twitch has said that as well. People get caught up with your little human with a bot and actually kill the same demon, but it's exactly like you can describe 40k. Every little moments. Yeah, that's the thing, right? Like, and I think when it's I get this is one of those ones where it'll be with Mesburg. I've only played one game, and I kind of get it, but there's a few things I don't like. But it's one of those ones you have to kind of get a few reps in before you really understand it. Okay, so keywords, limitations, equipment. Each warrior may carry one two-handed ranged weapon or up to two one-handed ranged weapons. In addition, they can carry one two-handed melee weapon or two single-handed melee weapons. Look at this guy. That's a big gun. You can buy additional equipment between battles, acquire new equipment during campaigns, blah, blah, blah. Right. Glory points. Used to purchase powerful troops and famous warriors known as allies. Some warbands allow you to purchase optional abilities. New warband roster. So name, move, range, melee, armor, base, equipment. Alright, so this is the case using any range weapon, melee weapon, or well armored it is, its base size, its equipment, abilities, keywords. Cool. So I'm not going to go through the lore here. Let's just have a look at what's going on here. So okay, for one-off battles, we suggest a typical force of 900 points and 8 glory. Each troops can be equipped with weapons, armor, and equipment listed below. All exceptions are clearly listed on the entries for each warrior. Items marked as limited can be only used times. Combined as elite can only use by elite. Right. So let's have a look and see how much some stuff costs. So a heavy flamethrower costs 55. An anti-material rifle costs 3 glory points. Okay, so glory points. The blasphemous staff. It's 900 points, 55 of those, which is what? Less than 10%, I suppose. You can get a heavy flamethrower. Bayonet, lug, shield combo. Okay, so there's a thing there. Tartarus claws. What's the most expensive thing? Is it the flamethrower? Yes. Okay. How much does a dude cost? Because this tells you more about the equipment. +2 on injury rolls. Risky. Blasphemous staff gives +1 dice. Any other action this model takes apart from dash, ranged attack, or melee attack. Cool. Also has fire and critical. Hellblade has +1 dice when rolling for injuries. Tartarus claws always come in a pair and do not allow to use of any other melee weapon or shield. You can make 2 attack actions with the claws without the usual -1 dice for the second attack. The opponent is taken down or out of action with either of the claws. You may immediately move up to 6 inches in any direction. If the model takes you into contact with another enemy, this counts as a charge. And you make a second. Oh, right, okay. So you can rip through things with this. That's cool. Okay, right. So you have to have one of these. Your opponent must include one of these guys. It costs 80. It can be equipped with any weapon, armor, or equipment from the Legion. Okay. So obviously in 40k they've taken away a lot of the choices of what armor and stuff you can have. This is obviously it's a skirmish game. I like the fact that you can equip them with anything. That is cool. That is really cool. Oh, Mirabelle.
Here comes trouble.
I can't even speak. Wow. Mirabelle with the raid, 160 viewers. Welcome in, everyone. And on over on YouTube as well. Oh damn, double raid. Hell yeah. Look at all these followers. Good lord. How's it going, everyone? Thank you very, very much, Red. How's your stream? I need to find. Well, it's a VTuber, of course it is. How's it going, everyone? Hope you're all doing well. We are talking about Trench Crusade, busy with the rules, and just kind of working out what's going on. It costs. Did you know it costs 55 ducats for a heavy flamethrower? What does that mean? I haven't a fucking clue. Dino Crisis may be queasy, Lamau, but otherwise good. That's unfortunate. But glad you're doing alright. So YouTube videos, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Raiders. I am suddenly inundated with people. I saw you were on I haven't watched that I haven't listened to the episode yet, but you were on Warhammer. Cool. Heavy flamers are extremely good. I mean, heavy flamers are always good in any game. Always with the heavy flamers. Where's the artillery witch? I need to find out what the artillery witch does, because it kept getting brought up in the rules. It kept going. For example, the artillery witch. I was like, I need to find out what it is. Yeah, we've basically gone through the rules. We're looking at some of the. We're not going to go through every single thing, because my god. There is 168 pages on the PDF, and I don't want to read through every single one. Just want to kind of have a look at how this thing works. Can I get good bits for salamanders? Don't know. We're almost at the Heretic Witch. Hell yeah. Miller also loves Centurions. Oh hell yeah. That's because Centurions are the best. That's just the rules. Right, thank you, Raiders. If you don't know who I'm very rare to get raided, so I'm very rare not to do. If you don't know who I am and Paul's Ballot stuff, I make very silly videos about Warhammer and Gunpla. Subscribe. And if for those from the Paul's Ballot stuff side, go follow Millbell over on YouTube and Twitch. I don't know, youtube.com/Millbell, I don't know. You'll find it. You're smart, I believe in you. Mix your cleric. Gifting me a sub to Millbell, thank you very much. Hi, I'm Paul, subscribe. I mean, I got nothing, I'll be honest. Are Killer Cans the Orc Centurion or is it Mega Knobs? Killer Cans are more of Centurion. Wait, no, the other way around. Millbell get the sub to me, not me get the sub to Millbell. Oh no, I can't work out how things work. I'm old and scary. Is that Mrs. Centurion? It is. Alright, what is the Centurion of Trench Crusade? We'll find that one as well. But yeah. Set target model, friendly or foe. There's a risky action. You can move the model D6 in any one direction. You can force it to jump, fall down, or enter into melee with enemy models if it is charged, or leave. That's cool. Oh man. There was a risky action. You could force something to retreat and then take a bunch of attacks of opportunity. Oh, that's powerful. And it's tough, so you know about tough. You can have one Heretic Death Commando. Oh, I can't reply. You fool! Be equipped with any weapon. The only ranged weapons that can be equipped with are silenced pistols, Tormentor Chain. I don't remember the Tormentor Chain. Or is that going to be somewhere else? Tormentor Chain. Did we see that? I don't remember that as a thing. I blind? Anyway. I'm sure we'll work that out. I'm sure we'll understand it later. It's an infiltrator, stealth generator. That has stealth, and as a risky action with +1 die, the commander can hide. If any piece of scenery the model is touching can block line of sight. That's cool. Campaign only item, not standard. Understood, that makes sense. Heretic Chorister. A lot of fluff. I like how these guys get like a small bit of fluff. This guy gets like 2 lines. This guy gets like an entire bloody sermon. That's a cool piece of art, to be fair. Any weapon. All enemy models within 8 inches suffer -1 hit for actions. That's cool. And it causes fear. That makes a lot of sense. Makes a lot of sense. Heretic Troops. So you can just have any number of these, I guess, because most of them have like 0 to 1. There's just any number of these. These are your standard dudes. You can upgrade them to be Legionnaires. Do it with any weapon. You can upgrade half of your Heretic Troopers to Legionnaires that cost 10 ducats each. You can select either ranged or melee characteristics of any Legionnaires to be +1. Okay. That makes a lot of sense. That's Rouge Panda is gifted a tier 1 to Nix your cleric. Thank you very much. You're so edgy, he cut off his own head. That's very edgy. That's very edgy indeed. You can have up to... Oh god, these are expensive, aren't they? 95. I mean, the characters are only like 90. Jesus. Are always equipped with reinforced armor and an infernal brand mark, which are included in the cost. Oh, okay, so they're always equipped with the same thing. That's why it costs them. Understood. Armor can never be removed, otherwise they can be equipped with any weapon, shield, or equipment, and may purchase trench shields. They're strong, so they can carry heavy stuff. So they're just heavy infantry. I have up to 5 of those. War Wolf Assault Beast. What a name. That's cool. I'm happy or sad, but I'm not reading all that. It's happy for you, or sorry, man. But yeah, that was a long sermon. Oh, that's cool. I like that. Got no range. Cannot buy additional equipment. 140 ducats, damn. Each wolf is encased in a nigh impenetrable suit of Tartarus armor that is reflected in the profile above. Additionally, each wolf has a set of shredding claws and a vicious chainsaw mouth. These pieces of equipment are built into the integrity of its construction and cannot be removed in any way. Purpose is detailed below. The wolf may make 1 attack action with each of these weapons in melee combat. And may make no other attacks during its activation. So it can make 2 attacks right away. Wolf treats the chainsaw mouth as a melee weapon with the keyword risky. It grants +1 dice for its hit for a total +3 because there's 2 dice here already. Additionally, the arm attack ignores any armor worn by the target, has +1 dice bonus to injure. Chainsaw mouth does not take any hands to wield. And the shredding claws are a 2-handed melee weapon with risky and cumbersome. They have +1 dice to injure because they are wielded alongside. They are treated as an offhand weapon. Okay, so your main weapon is the chain. Understood. -3 armor. Yeah, these lads are hard to kill. Oh yeah, how did the armor work? That was one thing I didn't quite get it all in my head. The armor. This number is subtracted from the roll on the injury chart when the model is wounded. Oh, so they're -3 to be injured. God damn. Okay, so they are quite. These are -2 to be fair, the heavy ones. These are -3. Gotcha. Hey, the artillery. Sure. Fine. That's a very. I don't know why I find this so funny, I'll be honest. It's just very funny. Right. They have 1 of these. You can include 0 to 2 if it costs more than 1,000. If your total is more than 1,000. Always equipped with an endless supply of infernal bombs. You can carry no other ranged weapons, otherwise you can be equipped with any melee weapon, armor, or equipment. You don't want her in melee because she's -1 die. So if you roll a 9 to kill a -3, brings down to 6. You need 2... Oh, yeah, so you need double 6 to kill a -3 armor thing. Damn. And they're also tough, right? So you need to do it twice. Oh, hang on, I didn't even go through these. Loping dash. May take its dash action with +2 dice. Damn. That gives fear. This wicked infernal weapon is treated as a one-handed ranged weapon with the blast keyword. Blast 3 inches. Specify a 1 mil point on the battlefield that is within 36 inches. You want to target. Next, make a ranged attack action. If the roll fails, i.e. you roll 6 or less with 2 lowest dice, the bomb lands 1 inch away from its intended location. Okay, that's not too bad. Oh, multiply by the number representing the degree of failure. For example, if you roll a 5, the bomb lands 2 inches away. Oh, that's fun. The direction is decided by your opponent. Roll on the injury chart for each model within the blast location. Blast radius. If the bomb lands exactly on top of any model, roll with 3d6 on the injury chart and add the dice together. So if you drop a nuke on someone, they die. Other models hit by the bomb, roll on the injury chart as standard. Any models hit but not taken out of action by the attack is blown d3 inches directly away from the point of impact. Stopping if they hit any other models, buildings, or objects. The attack has the keyword shrapnel, therefore cause an additional +1 blood marker. Cover, range, and higher positions do not affect the attack. Roll injuries for models that would benefit from the cover. Measure the blast point with the -1 dice, the activation of which ends immediately after using the Infernal Bomb. Artillery wishes are not affected by fear. Additionally, attacks with the keyword gas suffer -1 penalty to injure the witch, and they do not suffer blood markers from having gas because they are artificial life. And they fly, essentially. They levitate. Because they have infantry movement, not flying movement. The artillery witch can climb up without taking an action, does not roll an injury chart when falling. So this is kind of half fly. They are completely mute and no one's ever seen their faces. The question if they're even living. Do you want to kill this thing as soon as possible, because this thing can demolish you. Well, it costs 90, I guess. Okay, Wretched are just standard dudes. And -1 everything's not very good. Yeah, none of the there, so they're just like standard chaff. Cool. Heretic Fleet operates semi. What's this? Okay, so this is like different rules. The naval player has the okay. Does the regular one have anything? I missed that. No, I don't think it. These are just like extra bonuses, right? All models have +1 dice. They can buy submachine guns. Cannot have a war wolf. Okay. French ghosts. Can do various other things. So there's like extra like weird stuff you can do. I'm not going to go through all of that. Wait, what was the one? Coin hammer. This is the Trench Pilgrims. Variants of detachments. That makes sense. Anything different? Oh, they don't have the heavy flamethrower. The most expensive thing these guys have. Anti-tank hammer. Yeah. Looks like probably that. Molotov cocktail, Warcross. Does not count as one of the ranged weapons. Punt gun. Well, punt guns are massive, aren't they? So, War Prophet. Castigator. Ooh, loudspeakers. Okay, that's cool. 8 inches of profit. Interesting. Interesting. 8 inches of engagement. Yeah, so you get extra movement. Momentum Mori. That just means they're tough. Yes, that's just toughness. Right. Once per battle, when the Warpro taken out of action for any reason, ignore the result as if nothing happened. Okay. It's kind of tough, but not really. I guess. Whip of God. Communicat. Has -3 dice to ranged. They always carry the communicant cross. The sacred cross is nailed on the face of the... Counts as an iron, capriote, combat helmet, and gas. So strong, tough, every gen. That's your standard. This is the thing I don't like. Because there's a game... called Blasphemous is the game? Which has a similar thing, which have like the steeple helmets. I don't like that style. Not for me. I know people do like it. They're your Gaff. Jesus. We're going to skip past that one. Alright, these are the... Is this a... Right, they're tough and strong, but it's not a golem. But it's this thing, which is kind of cool. They're the war bands. Interesting. Kind of dreadnought makes sense. This guy's missing a bit of his body. You should check that out. Iron Sultanate. What's the difference? Ooh, a flame cannon with the brazen bull. 60 ducats. That's cool. An alchemist armor is 50 ducats. It's got some expensive stuff in this. This is like it's going to be an elite lot, right? Zales. Heavy Blast 3. This is basically the same. This is the weapon that is the same as the artillery witch, right? Flame cannons. When shot in ranged combat, draw a sight straight 12-inch line that's 1 millimeter wide. All models along the path are automatically hit. Roll for the injuries immediately. That's cool. Titan. I'm going to try and say that word. Like a halberd gun. They have a lot of special stuff. Oh, this lad. Yeah, I'm not even going to try and say what that word is. Like, I fail. But Alchemist. All range and melee weapons may be assigned one of the following: shrapnel, fire, or gas. That's cool. Assassin. Time slip. Any type of attack misses the assassin, they may slip into a moment in the future. The assassin can move into an unoccupied space within 6 inches that they cannot be moved within 1 inch of an enemy or leave the gaming table. If moving out of the melee this way, the enemy does not get a free attack. That's cool. And then this is your standard dudes. Lions of Jabir. Janissaries, yes. The first action a Janissary makes during the activation is a charge. They can have +1 dice to subsequent menus. Ooh. Right, here's the Brazen Bull. Oh, that's cool. It's basically an obliterator, right? It can trample. Strong, tough. Can be equipped with any weapon, armor, or equipment from the Iron Sultanate Armory. Due to its vast size and strength, it can only use weapons with the keyword heavy. Or simply crush any other weapons. So it has to use heavy weapons. And I guess if you're spending like 60 for the thing, this thing's going to cost 160 base. Okay. There's like this, the difference ones. A homunculus. Oh, you can like build a thing here. What's this? You can bring one attack creature for each alchemist in your warband. Each alchemist creature must be associated with an alchemist. If the alchemist creature is killed, cannot be fielded. Its equipment no longer changed. No formula may be applied to it. You require a new alchemist. If you have any allocated attack creatures, you can Okay, so you like build a dude. Like wings, resistance size, human hands. That's cool. I like that. Like being able to build up your own alchemical creature. That's a really cool idea. That's really cool. It was for, and you can have, you can only have one alchemist, right? Unless anything else counts as an alchemist. Fair enough. Maybe there's other ways to get alchemist. I'm not reading fully. The Principality of New Antioch. What's the most expensive thing? Heavy flamethrower. So far. Your warband may have up to 2 fire teams. These fire teams consist of only 2 models. Okay, so this is where fire teams come in. We're going to discuss this. Look at this fella. Lieutenant. French clerics. These are kind of like standard dudes, I guess. They look fairly like not basic, but they're like the normal guys. Combat medic. Clearly something's gone wrong. Very wrong. Yeah, because there's not like, yeah, you got you got a standard person, a cleric, some snipers, and then you just got basic dudes, heavy basic dude, then a priest. They're like a kind of very similar or kind of simple person. Standard organized dudes, yeah. Cult of the Black Grail. Ooh. Some attacks by weaponry have infection markers. Work similar to blood markers. Infection markers can be used to modify dice. Use different colored dice. Model may have 6 infection markers and 6 blood markers at the same time. If a model has any infection markers before, if a model had any infection markers before but has none when it is activated, no new ones are added to the model. Because it'll be reinfected further. Fighting against the Black Grail is terrifying. Enemy warbands roll morale tests with -1 dice when fighting a Black Grail warband. That's very strong, right? That's really strong. Basic but fun. I love my Kingdom of Albert. That makes sense, yeah. Like, am I mad? That's... You found the Gulf Ashes. It was mostly just like, I'm trying to find the interesting things. Or like the different things, right? They're strong but slow. Makes sense. Putrid shotgun. Yeah. Have a look. Let's through some of this stuff. Oh yeah, it's Death Guard, right? this is so Death Guard. Oh right, they cost 130 for your basic dude. When your warband is created, you must choose whether it will be led by a Lord of Tumors or a Plague Knight. Your warband must include a Lord of Tumors. Your warband may include up 1. Up to 2 Plague Knights, and it must include a Plague Knight when it's created and may include up to 3. Okay. Plague Knights are a lot cheaper. These guys are tough, strong. Non-fire injuries against Lord Tumors are always rolled with -1 dice. Okay, so you have to kill it with fire. These ones... And this is equipped with a suit of armor. Okay, interesting. And Corpse Guard. This thing. Yeah, they are very much Death Guard. 140. The Amalgam has 6 functional arms. They can carry 6 one-handed weapons or 3 double-handed weapons. Or any combination thereof, as long as 6 arms can carry them. The Amalgam uses the Black Grail armory for weapons. It never carries any other gear except weapons. So one of its arms may carry a single trench shield. It may not carry grenades, and it can only wield up to 2 weapons of the same name. Amalgam can take ranged attack action once per activation for each of its ranged weapons it is equipped with. Then it can take melee actions once per melee weapons equipped. None of these weapons are offhand weapons. The Amalgam cannot benefit from shield combat. You could have like a 6... You can have a 6-arm root 2 point shooter right there. This 6 on root 2 point shooting. Injuries against the amalgam and roll with -2 dice. Jesus, okay. They're tough as well. They are resistant to gas. They can do the trample. Enemy models never get free attacks against amalgam when it retreats. Additionally, the amalgam move out of melee combat using a standard move. Oh, we could just leave. You can just choose not to. Yeah, those are kind of cool. Yeah, they're obliterators, essentially. Okay, and then there's like kind of the special stuff. The Court of the Seven-Headed Serpent. You must select which of the 7 deadly sins the warband is dedicated to. Wrath, envy, pride, gluttony, greed, sloth, or lust. Due to their infernal origins, models with the keyword demonic negate additional blood markers caused by the keyword fire. Cool. Yeah, they can have a heavy flamethrower. Cool. A Malabranch sword. What is a Ophidian rifle? What is a yeah, this enormous evil sword rolls 3d6 on the injury chart, adding results together. Good lord. The steamroll or get steamrolled faction. Ooh. Of goetic abilities, powers and spells which use the suffering of mortals as spiritual energy to unleash reality-bending powers of demons. Keyword Geotic. Number in brackets shows how many blood markers will have to be spent to trigger the effect of the spell. If multiple numbers of or range are listed, any one of those numbers can be chosen. The blood markers can be taken from any model currently taking part in the battle, be they friendly or enemy. However, they must come from models that do not have the demonic or black grail. Blood markers used this way are removed from the game. Taken. No action roll is needed. They are action. So you could just be like, oh, my guy has like 2 blood markers. I'm just going to take those away and use a spell. Interesting. Any of the Warriors Court. So you choose which sin you're going with, but there are some which are standard. Let's have a look at a spell. Also opens a portal to like fire. Let's one moment that source scene. Next, make an attack, range attack action. Attack surface penalty of long range, but not cover. Okay, that's same as the Infernal Witch. X is number of blood markers spent. So it's the Infernal Witch. Kind of. Cool. That's nice. Because that is like a commander friendly thing to do something. Cool. So Wrath gets charge. You can always charge max. Cool. Wait, that doesn't cost. That's not a goetic spell. That's just a thing. All right, so you can just get bonuses that aren't actually spells. Cool. Yeah, like this one. Injuries have minus. Yes, these are just like these are basically just upgrades. They are. That's cool. Okay. What we got here? Oh, he's expensive. And he flies. Jesus. Demonic Elite, tough, strong, fear. Okay. He's +3 dice in range and hitting as well. This guy's a beast. These are basically just demons, right? Not sure why. I guess the PDF, the way I've zoomed the PDF, this is kind of cutting off a little bit. I guess this would be over 2 pages, right? Hunter of the left-hand path. Hell Knights. These are like the little beans. Wretched. Pit Locust. There. What the hell is this? Jesus. It's encased in 9 penetrable Pocketus armor. Cannot be removed. It's 3 functional arms, then carry 3 weapons. Tough, fear, strong. Depending on the sin, it has an aura. God, that's cool. Okay, so this is now just the normal equipment stuff. Yeah. That's all normal equipment. And scenarios. Let's have a look at scenario, I think. The Demon Prince with aura. That makes sense. Unless the scenario says otherwise, the following rules to set up the scenarios. Okay, that's it. We'll take a quick drink first. Right. Scenarios are probably the most divisive part of the game, really. Unless the scenario says otherwise, use the following rules to set the scenarios. Player with the lower number of models in the force can place one of the following terrain pieces. 1 building. Dangerous danger for terrain. Why would you not put dangerous terrain? Each building must be placed at least 8 inches away from the table edge and 6 inches from the nearest building. Both players place these large terrain pieces until both players have placed at least 3 pieces each. Both players place these large terrain pieces until both players at least 3 pieces each. In addition, both players that's 6 small pieces of terrain like boxes, sandboxes. Okay, I don't understand how this works. So the player with the lower number of models in their force can place one of the following terrain pieces on the table. So why? So I could just literally plonk a load of barbed wire somewhere. I guess you don't know which side of the board you're going to be until later. Okay. And then both players place these large terrain pieces. I mean these large terrain here. So they are both placed at least 3 pieces each, and then 6 smaller pieces. We just kind of make a board they agree and play on that. Yeah, that's the thing, right? It's similar, I think, with 40k. Like it's just as a setup thing, which is why people use the standard ones, right? Because it's just easier. Because this is weird, right? Players take turns placing terrain, starting with the one with the least models. That makes sense. That's kind of how I'm reading it. But it also feels like the player with the low number of models places one of these first, and then you do it. It's weird, but I get it. Equal amount of dangerous, difficult, no comp setup like 4K. Yeah, so that's the thing. As long as I feel like having that just to start with. That's, I think, one thing missing from games like this is obviously they're there. It's there for the immersion, but for someone coming in for the first time, you kind of want a good example to go off of, because you could do this part wrong in terms of making a board that is so uneven, and it's another layer of complexity when you're starting out. Once you've played the game a few times, then it makes sense that you can do it this way. But like, I feel like it should just be a default layout to help you. Real Rule Zero type vibes. Some scenarios also take more terrain, makes it more difficult. Yeah, that's the thing, right? So I don't mind it. I get the idea. But for someone new coming in, which is why the tournament kind of is quite so useful, having those default terrain things for 40k is so useful, even if you aren't a 40k, like, you aren't thinking about doing competitive stuff. Just having the ability to go, this is what a kind of good, decently balanced, easy to understand layout looks like, so we can get into the game. So series objective markers, you can use flags, coins, banners, blah blah blah. or objective markers with floors balanced to sharp. Yeah, that's exactly. That's the entire kind of thesis of that video, right? The problem with L-shaped ruins is that it's not really that much of a problem, to be honest. But before the battle, many abilities in Instructor offer the chance to take an action before the battle. Pre-battle actions are activated and resolved after forces have been assembled and terrains have been set up, before models have been deployed. Both players have pre-battle. Each player resolves a single one at a time in alternating order, starting with the player who has the first turn. If multiple pre-battle abilities belong to the same player, it needs to be resolved at the same time. The player victory points used to determine the winner and loser. The winner always gains 5 EP. Otherwise, the result will indicate less. Cool. Typical game lasts for 6 game turns. Some scenarios have different durations. Cool. Let's have a look at scenario. Claim No Man's Land. Basically the basic one. Midpoint there. Use your full campaign warband in this thing. So use all the points. On a 4x4 foot by 4 foot. The table must contain 5 buildings, such as ruined houses, bunkers, and chapels. At least part of each building must be in the location indicated on the map with a red marker. Okay, so you have to have terrain in those areas. At least part of each table must consist of 5 buildings. At least part of each building must be in the location indicated on the map with the red marker. Both have 3 to the big ones listed above and then 6 small ones. Play with the lowest model goes first. That's... If it just said that, that'd be so much easier. Like, for this one, right, it should just be... Each player can place up to 3 of these, and then 6 of these. Starting with the player who has the lowest number of models plays first. Basically, take and hold, but not objective marker, said it's a terrain piece. The way I'm reading this, and I know it's wrong, but this is why the wording is important. The table must contain 5 buildings, blah, blah, blah. At least part of each building must be in the location indicated on the map with the red markers. It should be a location, right? Because otherwise, at least part of each building has to be in every single location. I'm kind of reading that in a weird way. That's stumbling me a little bit. It makes sense. I know what it's trying to say. Can't use infiltrators. Fine. Loser of the roll-off chooses which deployment zone will be theirs. The other deployment zone will be their opponent. The player then take it in turns to deploy 1 model at a time, starting with a player who has more models. Wait. Why would the loser of the roll-off get to choose? Let's take it to deploy 1 model at a time. Start with the player who has more models. Why is that flipped? I can't think of a reason why they would flip that. Because in 40k, the way it works is if you're the defender, you choose which side you are. You choose to defend, which means you deploy first. Because it's symmetrical, it doesn't matter as much for that. So you win the roll-off, you go, okay, do I want to deploy first or second? Fine. In this situation, losing the roll-off is winning the roll-off. Why? I'm sure there must be a reason. This battle only lasts 4 turns. Keep a running tally. Each player scores 1 victory point for each objective building that they have a model within 1 inch of. Or 2 VPs for each objective building that they control. Okay, so you still get a VP if you're within a range of it, but you have to control it. At that point, it should be low roll wins. Yeah, that's what I'm confused about. Player controls the objective. The total number of models from their warband that are wholly within the building is higher than the total number of enemy models that within. Model is considered wholly within if it is entirely within the edges of the building's footprint. Calculate a VP for both players at the end of the round and add them together. Player controls an objective. The total number of models from their warband that are wholly within the building is higher than the total of number of enemy models within 1 inch of. Right. Okay. So you could have you could have one guy inside the building. You don't control it if your opponent has more than one outside the building, but they don't control it either because they're not inside the building. And okay, yeah, okay. I feel like basing it on number of models could be a problem. Hear me out. Let's go up to like find a standard dude. Oh look, we found the standard dude. So I kind of found I found the riskiest standard dude, didn't I? Is it these guys? Slow it down, I think. Yeah, okay, here's standard. Also, 30 plus 5 for a mandatory bolt action rifle. Oh, it's a reduced cost, okay. Why? But in other ones they go, the cost is this, and that cost includes the bolt action rifle, so I feel like that could just say 35. Anyway. Couldn't you just, like, flood the board with these guys? Which is why OC is quite a good thing. What everything gives you more control. So yeah, I understand that bit. That makes a lot of sense. I like that. It basically means you cannot control a building unless you are wholly within it. They're very easy to take down, yeah. Or the maximum number of models you can run in the game. Okay, that's fine. Players score 1 glory point for every model that completes any of the following glorious deeds. Take out an enemy elite in cover with a shooting attack at long range. Take 2 or more enemy models out of action in a single turn. Make an enemy fall from a height of 3 inches or more thanks to your action. Make one of your enemies suffer a 6th blood marker. Pass a morale test. Okay, that's interesting. So you actually get something for passing a morale test. Okay. Charge 2 enemy models with one of yours during a single activation. That feels like a very easy way to get glory points. Take out an enemy with a model that is down. That's cool. I like those. Those are cool. That's it. Okay, that's fine. Both players set up 6 models from their warband. Selection seems so no model on 40 normal space can be included. Drawing must contain a specific model upon creation. You may fill that model even if you... Okay, so this is deciding what forces to play. So if you don't have any... If you have a lot of big models, you're kind of screwed. Loser chooses... No morale tests are taken during this. Player scores 1 victory points when they have a model touching one of the reliquary markers. Makes a successful action roll. With marker, it can no longer generate a VP for you or your opponent. They have models touching one of the reliquary markers. Yeah. Once VP is claimed, the marker over the shirt has been claimed in this turn. After turn 1 is over, remove reliquary markers 1 and 2. And then 3 and 4, and then... Okay. This is kind of reminding me a little bit of... Shatterpoint. Shatterpoint has a really cool mechanic. Where each Shatterpoint, the objectives that are active flip. And so even if you've been holding a bunch of them, they might not actually be useful anymore. I do like that. This is quite interesting. Same ones here. One of your models claims at least 2 different reliquaries, okay. One One of your models takes at least 3 enemies out of action. Take out an enemy that is touching one of the roller coasters. Okay, so there's different side quests for each one. That's cool. 3 markers representing objectives. Both forces units 20 models. Must deploy all their elite models as a variable. Okay, we'll ignore the forces stuff. Place 3 markers representing the objectives on the table as indicated on the map numbered 1 to 6. I feel like that's not correct. I feel like they've copied it from this one, but they didn't copy it properly because they should have only 1 to 3. And also, they didn't even number them 1 to 3 here. They just used X's. Where's the report bug? Hey, Mr. Trench Crusade. This is wrong. Also, fill the rest of the battlefield... Oh, no, yeah, that's fine. Don't ignore me. Roll off, loser goes first. Stupid. This is dumb. I don't know why this is a thing. It's stupid. I'm sorry to tell you this. This is dumb. After deployment in secret, both players nominate 3 enemy elite units as targets. Each player also nominates one of their own elite units must be kept alive. Okay. I feel like these are somewhat similar to Mezbug. It's the first one to do so gets the glory. Oh, okay. Oh, whichever player completes them first gets the glory. Oh, right. So you only get 1 per. Oh, okay. Okay. That is cool. Yeah, I do like that. I do like that. That's a cool mechanic. At the end of each turn, a player scores 1 victory point if they have models within objective marker, or 2 if they control the objective. Oh, hang on. No, this is entirely wrong then. This is these should be based on this. These should be buildings. This should be the same as the first scenario. This one. So this scenario, as written currently, is wrong because it's mentioning buildings here. These should be building markers. I mean, you can work it out, right? But yeah, this is incorrect. Again, it's playtest material. When the game ends, they reveal their hidden targets for each enemy elite on their list. You get 2. If the elite model they indicated as the friendly model has been kept alive, you get 3. And then calculate the victory point. Oh, yes. Take out an enemy with a diving charge. Cool. So that's one of the deeds. But yeah, the markers indicate building, that's the objective. But the way it's written is it says place 3 markers representing objectives. This one here is written the same as this one. But it should be written as this one, where it says the table must contain 5 buildings, and at least part of the building must be on the red marker. Basically, this one is... they basically copy-pasted this one wrong, because it also says numbered 1 to 6. So they basically just copy-pasted this one wrong. It definitely should be the buildings. It should be the same as 1, but they've written it wrong. Interesting. Ooh, this is asymmetrical. The larger warband is the attacker. The smaller one is defender, and they can have half of the number of models. If both Ooh. Ooh, hang on a sec. The larger warband is the attacker, and they use the entire warband. The smaller warband is the defender, and they can have up to half the number of models the attacker has. If you're going for those demons that are like all super expensive, you basically just have the same number of points. The defender places 3 8-inch-long trench sections in deployment zones. They can be placed on the defenders as the defender wishes and can be continuous, but each section always counts separately for victory point. For the rest of the battlefield with terrain as normal. Defender places 12 mine markers on the battlefield, 4 which will be duds. The defender marks the duds on the side of the marker that is hidden from view. Face down. The Defender can place the mines anywhere within the battlefield up to 12 inches away from their own deployment. When any model comes within 2 inches, flip and see if it's dud or not. Mine is a dud, discard it. If the mine is not a dud, every model within 3 inches must immediately roll the injury chart. They have shrapnel. I just played this scenario and was squeezed out a win, but 8 versus 16 was brutal. Yeah. Some models, such as new anti-yacht combat engineers, can remove a mine. Risk. They cannot be placed infantry close than 12 inches of their own deployment zone. Place then takes turns to deploy model, starting with the attacker, okay. Into the 4th round, the attacker rolls 1d6 on a roll of 1 to 2, the battle ends. Otherwise, it keeps going. One warband is wiped out or completely loses their morale test. The game ends, and the opposing one wins. Otherwise, defender scores 2 victory points for each trench section that has 1 or more defender model with no enemies. Attacker scores 2 for each section that has no enemy models. In the battle, attacker scores 3 for each trench section that has 1 more of their models but no enemy models. Okay. Yeah. The problem I see with this is one attacker uses big cost of... Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, if this is... If I'm using the big, like, demon dudes, I'm going to have half of the models, but about the same amount of points. Like, if let's, we go back up to these guys. Like, what was it, 700 ducats? This guy already cost 115 before putting armor on him. Hell Knights are 100 each. Was this the one with the 6 arms? That's the 3 arms. That's 140. Like, you can quite easily have half the units and have a similar amount of points. I feel like this needs to be point. If they want to do it this way, this needs to be point. But again, I don't know 100%. Obviously, I'm kind of mostly working this out from what I'm reading, right? Something for a little shit is also rough one. That's the other thing, right? Because we know that you can very easily get wiped out with bad rolls. But in this scenario specifically, the fact that the lack of, you know, having half the models might be bad anyway. Man lost a 5. Starting with the attacker. Hang on. It doesn't say here. It doesn't determine the attacker here. They forgot to include the bit where the person who loses the roll becomes the attacker or the defender. All right. By taking out enemies, you earn victory points equal to the ducat value of the model, divided by 10. Mercenaries and allies all worth 3 times their glory points. Cost as victory points. Glorious equipment is worth 3 times. Since this scenario ends the campaign, there's no need to... Oh, right. So this is always like a last... This is like just the last stand, right? Yeah. Hang on. The players roll off. The winner could decide to be the attacker defender. Oh, right. This is slightly different because the attacker defender has different things here. Okay. But why? Armored train. We'll love a train. Okay. I'm getting it. There's some cool stuff here. This is a bloody long one, Jesus. Alright. Dragon Hunt. Yeah, these are getting very very long now. Gee, oh, God Christ. There's a random scenario creator as well. That's cool. Different deployments, tunnels, deeds. Alright, so this is now the Oh, right, this is the which set of deeds you do. Okay. Yeah, it's I can definitely see it being it's definitely done around the combat play. I love this guy. I like that guy. I like the I keep scrolling past that bloody YouTube. Which was the other? Where's the 6-armed dude? Is that in here? That's the Brazen Bull. I like those guys, to be fair. I like the fact that you can make your own homunculus thing. Guys. The Black Grail? Amalgam, yeah. This is the Death Guard people. They're pretty cool. I love the demons, though. I'd probably play demons. To be honest. They just look kind of cool. They look fun. Everyone gets hooked by 7-headed serpent the first. I mean, yeah, because they're cool as hell. The other one I actually did like. I do like these guys. The who are these guys? The Iron Sultanate. They're pretty cool. I like the Iron Sultanate. I like the default. I like these guys as well with the Artillery Witch and the War Wolf. These guys are cool. Your standard run-of-the-mill heretics. That was like a hunting gun if I saw one. I will say, I think this game looks pretty cool. I'm not blown away by it. It's got a good set of rules. I love the diving, the jump from the top rope. The rules themselves are cool. I'm not like, yeah, I definitely want to play this. I do want to play it, but I'm not like, you know, coming at the bit. I like the unit building stuff. This looks like it would be a fun one to. I can see why it is a campaign-based game. This seems because you can be so like. Again, let's look at an example of like these guys, right? Right. Let's have a look at the demons. I'll have to make a demon list, right? What weapons could they have? Could they have the heavy flamers? These guys can have a heavy flamethrower, right? You could definitely have, like, I mean, a demon dude with like a heavy flamer is cool as hell. This is definitely one of those. This is a game that is so well supported for creating your own very, very specific things. Like no one's praetors are going to be the same. And I think it'll be it'll be interesting to see, because you can imagine if, in fact, there are probably people out there who may have worked this out, like the best loadout for a praetor. But I think getting into this game is so much about looking at this and going, I want to make my own praetor, like choose my own like powers, make it my own thing. And I feel like you can do a lot with it, which is cool. I'm gonna build uses trench game. That's cool, yeah. This is a weird one, Omni, because yeah, it's really easy to get into on Tabletop Simulator. I feel like this game is what I don't want to play on Tabletop Simulator, because I feel like if I'm gonna play this one, I mean, I might do a stream where I kind of like try and build a list. Let's say I'm not doing a normal campaign. Let's say I'm doing a one-off battle, 900 ducats and 8 glory points, right? Build a list around that. See how many models that is. I feel like that's kind of a thing I'd want to make myself. Again, the problem with the games like this is time, right? Time and trying to, you know, find stuff to do with it. But I think this is a really cool game. Self-approach have a video set up. That is cool. I will check that out because this has some cool stuff to it. To be fair, I do like this. Yeah, I think this has some cool stuff in it, and I can see why people like it. Again, I don't know much about the lore, and I'm not really going to get into that. There's just a lot of cool choices, and again, with 40k, obviously they've taken a lot of that choice out, but I don't mind that. But because this is so many, like, just that each, like, there's so many, like, there's so fewer models and they're all individuals. I don't mind it. Like, imagine trying to get into 10th edition 40k and you had this option, like all of these options for all the stuff. It would be too much, right? But I think with a game like Trench Crusade or Kill Team, for example, I mean, Kill Team's a little bit more restrictive. Games, the skirmish game, this works very well for skirmish. And I think with 40k, I think it's better. I think having the two separate things is good. Again, like Horus Heresy, right? Horus Heresy has a lot of that choice. And I think it is better for... I think it's better overall to have those differences. If every game was like this, then it would be overwhelming. I like the game like 40k to be able to very quickly kind of get into a list, right? This is going to take... I imagine if I try to get a list together for this, it would take me hours. Partly because, again, I'd have to like look everything up, but also just the number of choices. I was prefer skirmish scale. I do like skirmish scale games. One, you mostly get to sit down. But I do like 40k. I think is just fun. I'm seeing everywhere it's things taking more time. I like it because more time was and still is a great game. I've never played more time. Which companion is good for list building? I'll look into it. Yeah, I will say yeah, this has been very interesting. I'll definitely look into this more. I kind of want to play either the demons with definitely want one of these. One of these, not the pit locust. They are kind of cool. It's one of these guys, the Desecrated Saints. Oh, +3 melee. Yeah, cool. Well, my opinion so far, basically, I think this is really cool. I like the rules. It's not. I'm not like going, this is a it's not the greatest thing I've ever seen. But then that'd be very, very high praise. It's got a very interesting, fairly simple moveset. I love the idea of the blood markers and the dice. That's very, very cool. I love the fact you can do a diving charge. That's hilarious. Which, like, gotta love that. I don't love the morale, but again, it seems like morale is quite easy to get around. Yeah, the dice system is really cool. And the amount of I do like the fact that basically you can equip your characters however you want. Very, very cool. When has morale ever been like all the thing is, battle shock tests are actually probably the best version of morale I've ever had, because losing models for morale is always garbage. And yet, like, sometimes battle shock doesn't really do much, but sometimes it is very annoying. I was gonna say, actually, this is very Darkest Dungeon, right? Unless spinning actually really straightforward, especially if you have a unit to build around, like Scripture Guardian or Communicate. That makes sense, right? It's more the kind of like, not so much the like actually making a character isn't too bad, right? You go, I want to play this character, I want to equip it with these things. But it's finding like the ones that look the coolest. So basically, I'd spend a lot of time like finagling with the little things. Never had Battleshock affect my arms because I'm fully loved for it. I've had Battleshock affect me a lot. In terms of... it has swung games in terms of not being able to, like, do stratagems or not being able to hold an objective. It has come up for me a fair amount. Mostly because I fail so many goddamn Battleshock tests. The problem with Battleshock comes in when they try to design they try to design detachments and stuff around Battleshock because it's so weird. Not weird. So infrequent and what I'm thinking of. I don't think of the word I'm thinking of. Anyway, the point is Battleshock is fine. Unreliable, that's it. Here it shakes your army and risks, which is that's the thing. It's like that can lead to feels bad moments. That's the problem. Oh. YouTube, you've really... Right. That was a very fun deep dive into Trench Crusade. If you enjoyed this, please go ahead and like, comment, subscribe, all that YouTube stuff. It was a lot of fun. And I'll definitely do this game with other games. Trench Crusade seems pretty cool, not gonna lie. And I'd like to see more about it. But for now, that'll be it for me. I will send you over to Liam Dempsey. Go say hello. Go and yell at him. And other things, I'm sure. But yeah, for now, thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed this, go like, subscribe, all that good YouTube stuff. And I will see you next time. Thank you very much for watching.